Okay, live stream setup, which means we can start the webinar. Hello, hello. I see that lots of people are waiting in the waiting room. Welcome to today's webinar. I want to quickly set up a poll here while we wait for everyone to get in. Uh, I just want to create a quick poll. How can I do that? 1 second. Okay, I'm just gonna create a single question. Uh, Yeah, welcome everyone. You can say hi to each other in the chat while I quickly get this poll set up here. I want to run this poll. I'd like to get an idea about how familiar you guys are with AI and NCP, because I have a section at the very beginning that talks about how to get it set up for your own account. And if you've never used it before, and you're very unfamiliar, most people are not very familiar with the tool, then I will go slower in that portion, basically. Okay. And there seems to be an equal split between people that have never tried, people have tried a bit, and people who are active using. Okay. So I think at the beginning, I'll share that I feel that if you've already been actively using AI or have connected a bunch of MCP servers together, today's content a lot of it might be going over the basics again, but I would also, hopefully you'll still learn something new. And if you have any particular questions about the Ahrefs MCP, I am here to help answer those questions for you, okay? Meanwhile, thank you for everyone that helped to answer the poll. So we have currently 114 people answered out of 174. Okay, awesome. So there is basically a three-way split between people who've never tried Ahrefs MCP and AI, people that have only tried a little bit, and people who are actively using AI. And I think it's very important that, especially even in my own journey, that it's never too late to give AI a try to help automate your workflows and like create like exciting things for you. In fact, I would say that AI has really never been more capable, more powerful, and less hallucinating than it has ever been. However, I mean, there's still like challenges of using it, so we can go over that as we go through today's presentation. And yeah, Tim Perslow said, just because we're using it doesn't mean we're doing it right. That's true. I think I would honestly put myself in the same bucket, but still I would encourage, hopefully after this webinar, you'll be encouraged to give it a go and try even more of what you can do to get AI working for your workflows and like improving your day-to-day tasks. So I will go ahead and without further ado, start today's webinar. So welcome everyone to today's webinar. Let me share my screen. Let me share 1 second. put myself in the very teeny tiny corner here. Yeah, that's a quick. Okay, so let's go all the way back and present. So yeah, I am using Gamma for my slides because it helps me quickly update stuff that I want to add to slides. But yeah, so anyway, welcome everyone to today's Ahrefs webinar. I'm your host, Constance, and today we are going to cover 5 useful use cases of Ahrefs MCP. If you have a question, so I'll be sharing the main content of today's presentation. Depending on how fast or how slow we need to go, I may have to skip some portions, but don't worry, at the end of this webinar and the email following up to all of you guys that attended, I'll be sharing all the resources that we shared today. And I'll also, of course, stick around for a Q&A after today's session is over. If you have a question though, because we want to make sure that we cover as much as we can today, please use the Q&A function in Zoom. That helps you, that you'll be able to find it under the More, I think in your toolbar. There's a Q&A function to ask any questions you may have along the webinar, and then we'll answer them at the very end, okay? This webinar is also being live streamed to YouTube. So if there's any part of the today's presentation that you'd like to watch again, that is your place to watch it afterwards. And that replay will also be available at the end of today's webinar. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll here, by the way. So thank you for everyone who participated in the poll. It helps me figure out how I should go about with today's presentation. So without further ado, let's begin. I want to give a quick disclaimer. I'm doing my best to share my learnings, but there's still a lot of stuff that I personally am learning through doing NCP. So if you have any, for example, technical questions or things are not working for you, or you see that some API call is not working, or some NCP integration is not working, I won't be able to answer here in this webinar, because it's very hard to sort of answer individual troubleshooting for this, and B, there's a lot of technical questions that it would be better to talk to our support team. Today, I want to focus generally on how we see how you can use Ahrefs MCP, as well as certain best practices that I can share from our time using it. I hope that what I'm about to share today will be helpful in letting you guys learn how to use Ahrefs MCP, okay? So let's go forward. So let's start with the basics. What is MCP? So it is Model Context Protocol. That's what it stands for. And it's a standardized way that AI can basically talk to a third-party tool or program to either extract data or perform particular tasks. In the past, because AI is sort of not deterministic, they will keep trying to figure out and generate ideas in order to access data on a website or pull or for example, do things like access API and then maybe the API URL changes over time, it's not correct. And basically trying to connect with all these different apps took a really long time. The structure is always different. So in order to solve this problem, this is what this protocol is about. It's basically to standardize the way that AI can, or offer a standardized way to the AI to access and connect with different tools, okay? And Ahrefs also has our own, which you can use to connect with our API. Why? Okay, so I've kind of covered basically the reasons why MCP is useful, because there are also a lot of hallucinations. There are a lot of when you want to connect APIs traditionally, there's also a lot of errors. And if you are a programmer, if you're not a programmer, you don't have technical knowledge, basically you would struggle to figure out what went wrong. And today now you can use AI to basically do all of that for you. You can just use plain text English to be able to connect with different apps without understanding the technical knowledge behind how an API works. And that should be a superpower, especially for many of you guys who may not have technical knowledge around APIs and stuff. So one second. So how to set up the Ahrefs MCP. So this depends on the AI that you're using. I don't want to run another poll, so can people just sort of message in the chat which AI you guys are using today typically? I'm seeing Claude, Claude Cowork, Claude. Yeah, ChatGPT, Gemini Enterprise. Okay, Claude. Okay, so today I will cover, so I'm just going to quickly open our documentation. Uh, Here. Okay, we have some general setup guides, a lot of it for like different Claude programs, but also ChatGPT and Lovable and NEN. But I will show you overall how it like connecting an MCP connector usually works, and it's quite simple actually. But if you want more details as to how to go about it, as well as the options to do it. So sometimes if you want to do like connect your NCP server only via token, not through authorization, you can see the installation steps to do that. So while I'm here, I will just share it because there are quite a number of you that have not used MCP before. Please, based on your tool of choice, check out the documentation here, but I will quickly show you like kind of like how it works. So for just so that you guys have a good idea about how quickly you can set that up for you. But just note, like especially if you're using Claude, sorry, one second, pasting it again. So if you're using Claude or any AI platform, you need to check if you have, so a lot of these AI platforms like require you to have a paid subscription in order to use the AI connector. I did provide a free platform today just so that people who have not paid for any AI platform, you can follow along. But I cannot guarantee, I'm not going to say like, oh, which platform is more useful or advocate for any of the platforms so far, because I think today's webinar is not the place to do it. But either way, you can see we offer documentation to help you connect with a lot of these different AI platforms for Ahrefs MCP. And to quickly show you something else as well, it's important to note that your plan has NCP limits. So, sorry, API limits. So in order to check that, you can go to limits and usage in your Ahrefs account. And it's all the way down here, API units per month, okay? And so you can see that the units are shared across direct API access, MCP server, and other like HRS Connect integrations that we support. So if you're using the API directly and using the NCP, we'll share from the same limit. Okay. And the only way to increase that limit is to upgrade your plan, basically. But every plan should have some. And recently we also announced that the direct API is also accessible for every plan, starting from light. Okay, so that's also like something you should keep in mind. Like you should be able to see this limit here, basically, and follow along to see how much you're spending. Okay. All right, so adding, let me change the screen that I share so that I can show you this example that I'm sharing. I think first I will do Claude. Let's do Claude. Something is not working. So there you go. All right, it works now. We're back. So you'll see that you will be prompted to log into Ahrefs, and after you log into Ahrefs, you have to pick your workspace. In this case, I'm going to pick this one here, and then it says allow access to your workspace, and you click on allow. For those that are a bit more senior, bear with me just so that everyone can follow along. So now that you see, now that I go back, now I'm going to go back into Claude Code and show. Now I'm going to go back into Claude Code and show what I can see here. is that you see all these connectors that are available. I just managed to connect Ahrefs here, right? And then if I go back to one of the chats, important to check is that I want to make sure that the connector is turned on. Okay, so make sure that your connector is turned on before you request your what you want to request API your AI, because if this is not turned on, basically it will not work. It will not be able to access the MCP server. Okay, so that's basically how you connect. And like, I mean, it was a bit complicated, but that just now, but you saw that when the workflow works, it's just a few minutes to get that connected. I'm gonna now switch over back to our presentation here. So this should be ready now. Let's go back. Tracking units consumption I shared already. It's in your account settings over here. There are a few things to check. One is like if you want to check your limits, it's under limits and usage, and this is across all your API tokens as well as across all your users. You'll be able to see in a summary of like how many API units you've consumed for the month. So this is the space to do it. It also has the option to like, or in this case, because it's an enterprise plan, if you're on enterprise, you can purchase like additional credits if you need, units if you need. Now, if you want to look at which key is being, all right, let's not on this page. I'm going to log into a different workspace here so I can show you. Oh, 875. So if you, in your account settings, you should also be able to see API keys. So now you can see all the different keys and what they're being using, whether they're used for API directly or via MCP, as well as the units they've consumed and information about like adding and expiring. So this is your place here to generate new keys if you need to, as well as delete old keys, and generally try to find which key is using the most credits and stuff like that. Okay, and yeah, like you can see like if you're running out of your credits really fast, this is your units really fast, your API units, you can use this page to narrow down which is the API key that is using up the most units. Okay, so that is useful to know. Okay, let's go back. I'm gonna close this for a minute. So we're gonna cover 5 ways to use MCP. The first is like your very basic use case, where I just want to ask AI to do some keyword research for me, and just simply ask it to do stuff based on by pulling Ahrefs data and presenting me with a list of different options of keywords that I should and AI should explain to me how they are useful or worth my time creating content around. So here's the first one. So I'm gonna show this with two AI platforms. The first is Claude and the second is Mistral. Okay, so let me switch over to Claude. I did this research over here where I asked it to find keywords related to skateboard and find the top 200 related terms and top 200 search suggestions that have at least a search volume of 200 and have a keyword difficulty 30 or lower that were first discovered 6 months ago or later. So I want to have, so in one like sentence, I wanted to ask for keywords related to skateboard. It may not necessarily include the word skateboard, that are, some of them may, like from search, I think search suggestions means that I'm also interested in looking for keywords that pop up when people are typing a search query, not necessarily in the Ahrefs database. And I want it to be recent terms, not terms that are necessarily old. So I want to look for trendy topics. So then I asked AI to group the keywords of similar meanings together and to provide an appropriate group category for each keyword. And then I asked it to pull out a CSV file for all these suggestions, providing all the information that I wanted to get for every one of the keywords, and then summarize the findings. Okay, just as an experiment, if you'd like to follow along, I will go ahead and paste this prompt here in the chat. Here, which if you have your AI open, you can then use this to go try to get the same results yourself. So then if you like to follow along to see what happens with what AI does, is that you can actually open this up, like they'll have all these steps here, and it will show you what its logic is, but also it would be able to share, wait, not this one. Here you go. It shows you what API it pulled, as well as the results that came from the API results as well. This helps you to debug. So sometimes when AI goes like, oh, I was not able to find the information, or sometimes AI is a bit sneaky and it would like give you present you with like information, but like the MCP connector didn't work for some reason. And your only way of like figuring that out sometimes is that you have to check on these different steps to see whether or not results came back or not. Okay, so this is helpful for debugging issues. So then you follow along with like what AI is trying to do. It basically got like a different suggestions for the seed keyword that I entered in the original prompt. And then it said I came up with a bunch of different suggestions. It then built the CSV and then basically give a summary of the results here. And it provided me with CSV. So I can open this up on the side in Claude, so I can see the results myself. Just within Claude, so that I have an idea of like what are the keyword suggestions that they have provided for me. I then asked it to, in a subsequent prompt, I asked them to group all these keywords into word clouds. And it did that. So basically, it helped me understand how to look at different skateboard-related keywords based on like kind of different categories that they semantically decided. So some are related to products, some are related to components, some are related to a particular location and stuff. And then I also noticed that it's quite a number related to DGK, and like, this is your opportunity to then see these at a glance. It's like, okay, I can dig in to see what this brand is about. Yeah, so different like customer segments related to skateboard. So like based on this keyword query, I've shortened down my keyword research efforts from looking through all these keywords individually in a CSV like before, and now I can speed that up by understanding what categories of content that I can write for my seed keyword. Okay, so now it's really lessons, and so history of skateboarding. So like this gives me a great idea of like overall what are the different content categories that I can target based on the keywords that I have searched that are of recent times. Like they're recently that are keywords that were at least discovered 6 months ago. So instead of pulling this data through our platform and then like exporting it and then doing a filtering multiple times, I can now do it in a single prompt and ask AI to help do the analysis for me. Okay, so this is like your very basic use case. And I promise that I'll be able to show you an example with a different platform, and I will. Let me do that just very quickly. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, so I tried to do it in Mistral. So why I suggested Mistral is because unlike other platforms, AI platforms, Mistral provides you a way of doing like connecting MCP servers without a subscription. I'm on the free plan. So if you are a skeptic of AI and MCP servers and you really don't want to pay for something upfront necessarily, you can try using Mistral basically. Yeah, so if you if you like to give it a try, then like this is like one of the AIs that I know that provide MCP connectors for free. And so you notice that different AIs will present findings differently. So in this case, like you have to download the CSV file and then it gave it summaries in different lists here. But you can see some of the keywords are similar. So it's pulling from the same data as you would expect from the Ahrefs MCP connector. But it gave some analysis about like which keywords were higher competition or lower competition, stuff like that. But and you can also see the analysis is much less. So different AIs have different pros and cons. Either way, it is a lot time saved compared to if you were to do this manually, especially if you are not, even if you're like building a script or something, like an AI saves you a lot of time in doing this analysis compared to before. Okay. So that's for this first use case. So let's go on to the next one. Finding backlink building opportunities. So I want to show this via Claude Code. Claude provides a way for you to run Claude Code from the run AI via I think I will try to use terms that I understand. I may not get it right, but Claude Code essentially allows you to run Claude in such a way that it can access your local files on your computer and help to build stuff for you locally. So it has a lot more functionality than it can otherwise have via the main interface where it only like responds in text or certain widgets that it supports. Okay, so it also has the option to connect a bunch of other, I think, different plugins or connect to different like repositories online, things like that. So like basically it has more options than what the normal Claude provides. So I'll give you an example of something that I built in Claude Code to show you what is different. I'm gonna go ahead and share. So the IDE that I'm using in this case is Visual Studio Code. It's not necessary. You can use your like you can even just run it from terminal or like if you're on Mac, or I believe there are other like I just run it from, I think command prompt in Windows is the other way that you can run Claude Code from. And basically it like Claude Code will have access to like you can set up like project folders on your desktop, and it can create like web pages for you and different apps for you rather than just limited to the normal just Claude screen in the desktop interface. So in this case, I asked it to, I want to showcase a few things. One is something that I have, no, I want to showcase in this, for this use case is skills. So if you have a task or job or some prompt that you've asked AI to help you do, and you need to do it regularly, then you should save it as a skill. So in this case, I have created this skill called Find Backlink Opportunities. And what I've asked it to do is basically do a few tasks. So you can see how it is going through the logic here of the different tasks. The task I asked it to do is, I asked it to find broken backlinks. I also asked AI to find best pages based on the number of links that they have, filtered out for spammy links. So I want pages that have high quality links linking to them on my website. And then I asked it to find links of my competitors. Basically backlinks that my competitors have, but I don't have. And do that all into create a summary report on which of these backlinks are worth targeting. So that here it shows that it has everything it needs, and it will compile a full analysis. So then it analyzed this is the website that I entered in. I said, please find backlink opportunities for this particular website. This is our help center, by the way, not our main website, but I just use it as an example. It showed me the top 3 competitors that found for that website. And it helped to look at broken backlinks. So again, this is data from Ahrefs MCP. And it showed basically suggestions on how to fix. Sometimes it's redirects and sometimes it's recreate. Okay, this skill I will provide as a way that you can add to your Claude Code after this webinar ends. I just want to show you what is possible here. But it's what I did earlier, except for backlinks, and then I saved it as a skill so that I can call it again later on. So then it gave a list of like broken backlinks. And then here it looked at link bait content ideas. So I asked it to look at the top performing pages based on links pointing to it. In the Ahrefs platform, this is the best by links report. And I asked it to group it into like different categories of like what kind of content basically attracts links. Right. And then there you go. It even suggested like content ideas that I can start writing. Okay, here as one of the steps. And then here we have competitor link gaps. So this is the step I suggested earlier where like I want them to look at my competitors and see what's ranking for them. And then basically find page ideas, but also places to reach out here, like top 10 pages to target for outreach as to ask to build backlinks with them. So it gave also some suggestions for doing link outreach. Okay. There's a lot of people writing in the chat. Yeah, so it's very easy to set up. I'm sorry, I personally not used Cowork before. So those people who did have actually used Cowork, they can probably answer this question. But in this case with Claude Code, it's very because Claude Code has a function to help you build skills. So in order to, you can literally ask it to say, okay, please build this as a skill and then give it like a name. So in this case, I have given a name of like find backlink opportunities. I said, I want to make this a skill. And then it helped to create a skill based on that. So that's the magic of AI. You don't even need to know the specifics of like, oh, what like formats I need to give it necessarily. A, you can ask AI to tell you that. And B, based on like what you write in English, you can ask it to help you to build functionalities that you can then improve your AI usage in later times. Okay, so like it just gave me a bunch of instructions here. I can later on basically ask it to build an app for me or create an additional like report format for me to present it to if I have clients or if I have teammates that want to see this in more detail. But you can see all the information here provided is based on my complex instructions for it to ask AI to provide opportunities for backlinks based on a particular website here. Yeah, and propose a plan. I asked it to propose a plan as well, like which would be the things that I should do first to build backlinks. Then later on, once I've done that, what I should do, and then finally how I should like progressively increase the number of backlinks linking to my website. Okay, let me just quickly go back to my slides to finish talking about this thing about skills. So what are skills, right? So I mentioned earlier about what skills are, but in order for me to build a skill, I asked Claude, or you can ask your AI, what is a skill and how do I set one up? And it actually provided me with this write-up to say, okay, you should tell AI or Claude Code in this case, where you want the skill to be saved. What is the name of the file? You should give information about its name in the description. And then I put all my prompt descriptions here about what I want the skill to do for me. Okay, so I can copy it here, but it would be easier if you just ask your AI that I want to create a skill. What format should I give things to you so that you can make the skill the best, right? So, and then afterwards, as you saw, you can just call it again, like with find backlink opportunities. And in fact, in the skill itself, you can give instructions to AI to say, use this skill when I say X or when I'm trying to do X task. So sometimes you may want to use this skill without even mentioning the skill itself. Mary, I have not done it yet because I wanted to refine the skill a little bit before sharing it with you guys. But at the end of this webinar, I will send you basically a way to install all these different skills that I presented in today. Yeah. But don't use this as a lure to not try building a skill yourself. You should give it a try. Not only should you try to make your own skill, you should also try to get AI to teach you how to make that skill. And you should also get AI to help you improve that skill. So for example, in the Find Backlink Opportunities report that skill that I showcased just now, it was using the wrong API calls. So in the progress of running the skill, AI itself realized that it was not succeeding in calling the APIs for MCP. I mean, like calling the correct Ahrefs MCP connector properly, and it fixed it. But I asked it to say, okay, now that you found the errors, please update the skill so that the skill like calls Ahrefs MCP more correctly. And it basically, AI figured out like a schema and added that to the skill to say, okay, when you run the skill, use these exact, Ahrefs MCP connector calls and stuff like that. So that's something also you can ask AI to do for you. But definitely, if you give that a try, make sure that if you see that something's not working, you can ask AI to fix it as well. Okay? All right, app building time. So this is something that I tried to spin up to see whether or not I can build something. So why build an app? The benefit of building an app is that if I want to have something that's interactable, so I don't want necessarily just like a long page of reports of things. I want to be able to see the data in a more dynamic fashion. I want to be able to look at particular charts, or maybe I want to use the data or like the analysis that I want to do in a more regular fashion rather than and through a UI rather than calling like AI to keep doing this every time. So it's good there are a few reasons why this might be good. And like an example is that if let's say you have to do the same job over and over, or like you have to just upload a similar file like regularly, and you want things to be very consistent, then you just ask AI to say, okay, I don't want you to keep using AI every time to like do this analysis for me. Build an app, and then I can run once the app is working. I can basically do this analysis myself. So I will show you what I made here. So this is just a server that is running locally on my machine. There are ways to be able to, if you use like GitHub or some like Git online, if you have like kind of a Git repository that you have online, you can ask AI to host it as one of your online repositories and then redirect it to like a URL on the internet and like a domain or something. And based on that, people will be able to access what you build. But it has to be hosted on a remote server, not on your laptop. That's from what I understand. That's like the most common use case of how to make it so that you're like if you want other people to access what you've built. I'm sure that I'm glossing over a lot of different ways that this can be done otherwise, but this is like the difference between like here, I'm running it locally on my machine, but like no one can access it because it's not like hosted somewhere on the internet. It's like they're running everything from like some folder in my computer. Okay, so in this case, I've asked AI to basically build a report where I want to look at different trends. So I want to see if I can show you what I've asked AI to do. So let me pull up my Visual Studio Code. So it should be this one. Okay. So at the very beginning, okay, I think this is not the terminal that I have on, or I think I cannot see what I posted earlier. But basically, I asked it to look for, let me see if I can give an idea. I'll go back to the screen to explain to you what I did, okay? But first, let me go back to sharing the app that I've created. So what I asked it to do is basically look at like 20 keywords that were found in the last 6 months related to a particular like for a particular website here. And I want to see things like, and I want it to grade based on what is the score of how its potential for building new content around. So where is the original prompt? I've asked it, I'll post the original prompt. So basically I said, I want to look at 20 terms that are found in the last 6 months that have, that cover beyond what I currently cover for this particular website, is what I said. And then I asked it to provide like useful metrics. And if I click onto it, I can also see, I also asked it to, can you please pull the SERP for this particular keyword so I can see the top ranking pages, and then do an analysis on these top ranking results to see like how what would be my strategy in order to also rank for this keyword. Okay. And it's giving information like based on the different SERPs that are available, you should consider different kinds of content structures. Okay. And yeah, it then grades it to say like, okay, it will grade it based on things like how difficult is the keyword, what is the search volume, what is the opportunity to be able to rank for it, and stuff like that. And then I've provided a way to create different like filters and in order to see information based on different like dimensions here. This was built in Claude Code. I did not really give it any specific information about like how the UI should look or how, what the formats of these pages should look like. I just said I described what I wanted to do based on the function. Okay. And also I've like asked it to, so I just want to go back into Visual Studio Code to show you the process of how I went about building this dashboard, because it was not correct on the first trial. So that's what I wanted to show in the screen. I wanted to show the original prompt, but I think I have to go back in history and I can't see it. So, I found some errors when I was running this project. Like I then copied and pasted the error message. So, okay, what I did first is I said to Claude Code after like putting in the prompt, one helpful tip would be to say, make appropriate error codes at every step of the process when doing the analysis so that we can trace where an error occurs. So, and it did that. It basically, whenever it found any issues of like running the analysis or running the dashboard, it would push an error that came out. And then I just copied and pasted the error into AI and said, can you please check why there's a problem? And then it said, okay, so I found the issue, like the API key was not entered correctly in the correct place. And then the difference here is that it was adding new lines of code and deleting the old lines of code. And so it show you the whole process of how it goes about fixing your platform. So then it's like an iterative process of trying to tell AI and testing the workflow to see whether or not something can be fixed whenever an error shows up. Right, so then it showed me a diagnosis to say, okay, this was the problem, and this is how we fixed it. So then I restarted the server, and then again, I went to check, and it said, I got this error. Then I just copy and paste the error in and say, like, there are some issues with the API. And during the process of it analyzing, it found that it was using old documentation somehow, or like hallucinated documentation for pulling the API correctly. And so basically I went in there to go and check. It would show you like information about what it's trying to do. And I helped to put in like the correct URL that it should use based on our documentation. Okay, so like this is a back and forth place of like trying to, you will have to go through this process to be able to fix it. But I found it to work really well just by pasting in like information about what errors that I experienced, like what kind of problems that I faced, or like even if there's no error message, I would say things like I have, requested new data to come from the Ahrefs API, but I don't see anything on the dashboard. And based on that, it will try to debug. Okay. Um, Can you share what all the app does? In this case, I think I shared earlier, but it has a summary of like all the keywords that it analyzed at the top here. And for every trending keyword that this website does not rank for, right? So it's looking for keywords other than what this website ranks for, that has like at least some minimum search volume. And I asked it to also pull the SERP. And then it shows that AI overview showed up as well as all these like top ranking websites. And then it does some analysis. Right. So based on that, I can basically see like very quickly if I want to rank for any of these keywords, I can go into more detail to figure out if I want to target it, what sort of content I should create, and then compare the different keywords side by side of what is worth my time trying to build content for. Okay, Kai, there's a lot of questions in the chat and a lot of questions Q&A. I will answer these at the end, so let's make sure we move ahead because the hour is almost over. We've not covered all the stuff yet. So I will try to go back to our slides so we can follow along. Where are we? No, it's the correct one. Okay, let's go back to my slides. So what's the next one? Okay, so now I'm gonna showcase. So somebody asked earlier, I saw that like, how can I share this with my teammates, right? In Claude Code natively, like if you just connect the Ahrefs MCP and you want to spin out something, and if you don't have fundamental knowledge in coding to be able to know how to run a server that people can access or manage authentication codes and stuff like that, it can be difficult to share with people. There is another platform that you saw in our documentation earlier that we say we support, and that is Lovable. So Lovable has the difference here is that I think they make it very easy for you to share with other people what apps that you've built. So in this like publish thing here, I've not published, but I can publish this application that I have built, and then I can restrict it so that I can restrict it so that only people in my Lovable workspace can access this application. So this is an example of like what is the difference between like Lovable and Claude Code. One of them is just the how easy it is to be able to publish this application either to the public or to like your coworkers or something, so that they can also use like an application that you've built. Okay, so here I'm able to show the prompt. So I basically shared that I want to create the app that helps me track the position of Ahrefs over time in AI generated responses in multiple platforms. And I asked it to give some aspects of what to analyze. And for each of the aspects, it basically created a different tab. Okay, here you go. I want to see like how its citations are like how the sentiments are in different categories and how they are pulled over time. I want to be able to manually, for example, I want to come back to this application in a week's time and then do another pull of all this, what AI is saying, like the most recent data on AI responses, and basically get an idea of how the sentiment has changed. So So, and it tried to do that. So in this case, in Lovable, what they do is that based on your prompt, they will create a plan of what to build. And then it will say things like, okay, how to store the data, how to, like, what are the features and how it should look like. It should have this page, this page, this page. So this is something that AI would basically provide. And then based on that, it will say, can I proceed with building this? It'll say plan approved, and it started build. Okay, but here's my caveat about Lovable. A lot of times they will build something, and if you don't give specific instructions to test what you have built, so whenever, like for example, in this prompt here, I didn't give instructions that like after you build this application, please test to make sure things work. And that was my mistake because I then went through multiple processes, multiple like iterations telling AI that like, hey, I ran something and there's no data, or I ran something and there's no analysis created. So please check. So that is so I ask questions like, why is there no responses? And then basically tries to investigate the issue. So it is so useful when you prompt to AI that you keep in mind that AI should be able to test for you if what they built actually works. Okay, bonus is if you're trying to build something, and if you already have an example of something that is working, like an example report of what exactly you want to see, you can attach it usually into AI to show. In Lovable, for example, I can like make a screenshot. Like if I make a screenshot here, and if I want to paste it into Lovable and say like, I see an error in this screen, please investigate. That's something that I can also do. Depending on your AI platform, they might support this functionality for building apps. So definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, in this case, I basically asked it to say, can you please look at the AI responses about a particular brand? So I asked it to set up a brand and as well as the website. And as if people of you that are familiar with what this looks like is, let me show you what I did here. Because like it was this particular app had a lot of issues, so I asked it to keep a log of all the APIs that it pulled. So in this case, it said, oh yeah, I pulled the API from mentioned. So these endpoints are mainly in brand radar. Okay. This does mean that if you want to use Ahrefs MCP with brand radar, you need the add-on. For example, in this case, for AI overviews, you need the AI overviews and AI mode add-on. You can also create this similar dashboard of your tool of choice with custom prompts, which is a lot more affordable. It starts at like $50 a month for some prompts. So like, let's say if you don't want to purchase the entire brand radar add-on, you can just purchase custom prompts and then fill up the custom prompts on Ahrefs and build a dashboard for this different, like just to analyze the custom prompts. And that's a lot more affordable. Okay, but yeah, I asked it to basically look at all the different AI responses across different platforms here, like AI overviews, AI mode, and ChatGPT. And I asked it to give some examples of like what people, what AI has said in the responses that are positive and negative and neutral. Okay, and then I can also, because I've asked for it, I've asked an ability to see the actual AI response as well here. So I can basically look into it and see more information about how it works. Okay. And like the whole purpose of this app that I tried to build is to be able to see the changes of this over time. So then I can change the date to like next week or the week after and basically be able to see how that changes over time and then narrow down on the changes. So that's something that you can ask AI to do as well. Okay, I hope that was a cool example. But just note that like with app builders like this, there are some like limitations that you have to keep in mind, especially, and it's also like experience. The more you try to use AI to build stuff, the better you understand like, okay, these are the things that I should tell AI ahead of time so that I can avoid the same mistakes. Okay, so we are at like an hour done, and there were a lot of questions that people asked. So I just want to quickly go back to the presentation and just go through what I wanted to show very quickly and then go into the questions, okay? The last one I wanted to show is the automation of with skills. So I will not show you the skills themselves because I've asked our teammate Ryan Law about that and he's not comfortable sharing it, but I will share with you his blog on it. So he goes into detail about how to build it, what he built, and how you can build it yourself. So I'm going to link this here as well in the chat, where basically he did a whole workflow of being able to say create a starting prompt, add an create a content brief based on your starting prompt, and then create an outline, then edit the outline, then add links, make sure you mention like Ahrefs' products and features. So he has like a whole outline here. And the success of what he's built is primarily because of how well he understands the blog creation process. And you can like read this whole blog to go into detail as to how you can do this, but like with skills, you can actually, so here I've mentioned that you can get a skill and tell the skill to prompt multiple skills in succession to get basically and chain a bunch of different processes together. And that's basically what he did in this process. So he could automate a lot of his like content creation process and then just focus on creating like examples and templates that AI can use and generate so much more blogs and content than he would otherwise use. And he in this blog, like when people are asking of like examples of how to prompt AI, this particular blog goes into detail on how to do that. I can very briefly, hopefully I have saved it. I have not. Okay. I think I want to go into blog pipeline. Can I do research socks? No. Okay. Sorry, I just want to test something for a minute. But basically, this is what you should check out if you want to automate like a full-blown process of creating content. You can see how he did that here. And this should give you inspiration how you can do this for yourself. And so each one of these like different process here is a skill. And then he had one master skill that said, please execute all these different skills in succession. Okay. Okay, so tips for getting the most out of Ahrefs MCP is like I mentioned earlier, ask AI for help. If you face an error or something is unexpected, just ask AI. I said I found something that I didn't expect it, like the app that I created or the analysis that you gave me did not match my expectations. Here's an example. And AI will basically give you ideas on, it would investigate the issue and a lot of times it would help to fix it as well. If you want to use Ahrefs MCP, especially for certain, like if it's not Claude Code or maybe a less supported AI platform, most of the time you need to be very explicit to say use Ahrefs, because sometimes if you just say, can I do like a backlink analysis, or maybe you've connected with another like SEO tool platform or something like that, and it doesn't know which connector to use, you can be explicit to say use Ahrefs to find something or use Ahrefs to build this app. And yeah, the more details you can give, as well as more examples of what to do or not to do when you prompt AI, make sure that you get a better result, like, with every iteration of talking to AI. And there is a final part that I mentioned earlier, that if you're able to tell AI, please test what I've built, and while in that original prompt, it would basically be able to build that in a workflow, especially if you're building either a skill or an app, to say, now that you have created the skill or app, please test to make sure that the results are exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so these are all ways that you can help to reduce a lot of headaches later on when using Ahrefs MCP. And here are some resources. Again, I will share this deck with you guys later on. at the end of this presentation, but like here I've talked about the documentation. There is Glenn's 15 MCP use cases here, which are mainly similar to examples 1 and 2 that I shared. The app related ones I have basically created outside of this use case list, but I would still recommend you check out his blog because it gives a lot of ideas of what exactly you can call Ahrefs MCP to do. Tim, our CMO, actually published a public repository of some skills that he has built. So well, after today, I will provide a repository of the different skills that I mentioned in today's webinar. But if you want to check out what he has built for finding new pages, you can check out this skill. And of course, you need the Ahrefs MCP to use it. So you can go to this link. In fact, maybe I can copy it for you guys. And then you can go to it now. And you can see how you can add that skill to your AI of choice now and check it out and see how it works. And there's also this one page here where the community has come together to show some best practices for building skills because we've showcased some of it today. And so that you can create it so that it works exactly as how you want and be able to avoid a lot of problems that are commonly used when creating skills for the first time. Also, for those that have stayed around, I know some of you guys have left already, but that's okay. There is something hidden in plain sight on our front page. Now, I don't want to spoil it, but you can now, all of you guys go to our ahrefs.com and scroll down to the footer. And why I mention it today is because remember I shared about this app that I built in Lovable using the Ahrefs MCP. There we might be building something related soon that we're excited with that soon that we will share. Sorry, where's my slides? And for you to get early access, so to know about it, for know more information about it, you have to check out something interesting on our front page. Okay? All right. So that's all I'm gonna say. All right, so we are now at the end of today's presentation. Let's go with the questions. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look at the Q&A section, and then I will quickly see in the chat if there are any questions that I did not get to answer in Q&A, okay? Let's do by most upvotes. Arthur asked, will you get into how much API units a typical MCP request costs? So there's two layers of this question. There is how much API units does a request cost via our Ahrefs API? And you can actually see this when you open up a report. So let's say I'm going to go to Site Explorer because we have a lot of API endpoints there. And I want to, let's say, pull out data from the overview. You see this like API button here on the top? So you can see the request, like what is the API key that you need to call, as well as the cost. And the cool thing is, if I, let's say, go into this and I apply a bunch of different filters, like let's say I want to look at low-hanging fruit keywords. Can I already apply it? So if I apply filters to my report, maybe I only want to see United States, right? Then when I press this API button here, you can see how, like it would update. So basically, the API request will update based on what filters I've already have selected, and it will also show you the cost per row. And then, of course, I can dictate how many like rows of results I want to look at. So earlier apps, you saw that I only wanted to see like 20 keywords, or I only wanted to see 200 results, right? So that's how I like cap. And that's like gives me a rough idea of how much it should cost. However, AI may choose to like call the API in all kinds of ways. So like that's sort of the second layer. It may call the API multiple times. It may call the wrong API, or it may like, and then you would basically waste a lot of API units going into some data that you can't use or stuff like that. So, and that's because AI is not very consistent unless you give it like explicit instructions to. So the more explicit your instructions, the better you can control the API usage via MCP server. So that is sort of the limitation of AI. And so like my only suggestion on how to help manage that is to basically track this with your API keys. And like, because I have them for different projects or different connections, I have a rough idea of how much is getting spent. And that helps me give a track of like how much units get spent. So it really depends. There's and it also depends on like how complex your requests are via Ahrefs MCP. Are you calling, just for one simple task, or you're trying to chain multiple analysis together? Okay. I hope that helps to answer the question about units being spent. Nick Trifonov asks, is there a way to use the LLM of choice to track our API usage, or is there a metric that isn't shared over MCP? Okay. No, docs.ahrefs.com. Or maybe I can showcase this via. Let me just check one thing very quickly. So by default, when an Ahrefs API is called, it gives the unit spent in the API return request. And there should be a way to do it. In our documentation, our API documentation, we do give information about how to do that. So I think I'll share this particular page. I think you can request AI to give the unit cost, because by default with the API, for example, not by default, you have to make sure that you call it, that particular function, to be able to see the cost. And the output should be able to give you like the units that were spent, basically. But I think so like you can try to ask AI, because in the API that we provide, you should be able to see the units spent per for the request. Okay. And if it's not able to show that information for whatever reason, you can try to contact our support, but like you should be able to see the units, like, and like if you call the Ahrefs API normally. So if AI is not doing it for whatever reason, maybe there's something with your prompting that can be improved. Agus Hermawan asks, is the site audit / technical data also connected to Ahrefs MCP? Yes, it is, because we have the API endpoint for it. Here, this one, while we're on this page. So here we have, these are the different site audit APIs that we support. The score, as well as the issues, and it'll give you basically a JSON of like what are the different issues and number of issues across different categories that are there. You can even get the page content itself. So yeah, so yes, site audit is supported, but like that's the overall answer. But if you're looking for something specific in site audit that is supported, not supported, you can check our documentation to see. And as long as you have that, you also have to make sure that the MCP key that you use is in the same workspace as the project that you have run your site audit for. Okay, and then obviously make sure that you prompt the correct project name and things like that. But yeah, if we have it in our API, we should have it in MCP. Which Ahrefs plans is MCP available on? Light and above. Now, same with our API directly, you can access it from light and above, but the limits differ. So the limits for all the different plans that you see here in integrations. So there are two kinds of limits. The first is the number of units per month that you can access across either direct API or MCP, Ahrefs MCP, and the number of rows per request. So sometimes, like if you want to request for more than 10 results per API call, you have to upgrade your plan. So those are the sort of like limitations. So higher plans obviously can basically pull a lot more information at once, but yeah. So hope that answers that question. Jeremy Kaiser asks, group category is not the parent category of Ahrefs, right? I think you're referring to that use case where I grouped a bunch of like keywords together, or I grouped it based on different backlinks or something there, or sentiment. Yeah, that's not Ahrefs, not something that is done in Ahrefs. I asked AI to find like a best fit method. Like either you can use some data science method for grouping like semantic keywords together, or you use AI to do that job. And they have different pros and cons, but it's not part of Ahrefs. You just ask AI to sort of propose to you ways to group your data together so that you can digest it better. And it usually does a pretty good job. Sarah Bodo asked, finding backlinks use case is doable with just chat, not Claude Code. You can do it with like chat desktop, but I think you can even do the skills in and create the skills in Claude, like Claude desktop these days, or even a Claude chat. I have mainly used Claude Code to create skills because I find it easier to manage. If I have different projects and different folders, I can organize that better. Like I don't want all the skills to be messed up. So I did it in Claude Code specifically, but you should be able to do it in like the normal Claude. So I saw a way to do it in a platform the other day. I think it's under. But there's skills. I know that there's skills in the normal chat. Mm, not sure, sorry. But there is a way to do it. I can't find it now. I saw it before. But yeah. Hope that helps somewhat. Okay, so Jenov asks, there should be a way. I'm not able to find it live here. I also just updated my Claude and I added some stuff and I have to figure out what they Claude Code Claude and Claude Code updates very often. They keep adding new stuff and I have to keep learning the platform every time. Anyway, Jenna Van Hull, sorry if I butcher your name, asked, do you have skill templates for common tasks? In Ahrefs, we will be providing that soon. But I think if it's to do with Ahrefs MCP, we don't really have something like that you can download and access just yet, but we're working on something like that. In the meantime, I would recommend you go back to the 15 use cases. There you go, this one. Oops. 1 second. Here. For now, this is all I can share with you. Okay, for common tasks. And there's 15 of them because there's 5 very simple ones. And you can copy them. You can grab the full version and copy and paste all these and basically use that to create skills. There's some that are very simple and it wants you to do like just like pull 1 or 2 API calls, and some that like do multiple tasks and like at the bottom it basically does like a full full-blown like analysis based on things that you want to do. So like based on that, you can create these skills for yourself to use and reuse. When you run the backlink analysis, what do you do with your information? So how do you outreach? So Claude will not be able to help you do the link outreach, if I understand your question correctly. If I want to do link outreach, I have to find the owners of the pages that Claude has recommended to me, that to say, hey, getting your brand mentioned on these pages, these 10 pages, would be a good idea. You can reach out to the owners of these pages to see whether you can work out like, some arrangement or build a relationship with them to then get your brand mentioned, either on this page or maybe future pages. So yeah. Claude itself won't be able to help do the outreach. But there was a section that I looked for, which is broken backlinks. That's something I can control myself. I can look at the pages that lots of people link to that are actually broken on my website. And then I either set up redirects or I create like new versions of the pages that were previously broken that have updated information. That's also something that I can fix. And basically I reclaim all those broken backlinks. So that's something I can control. Okay. Is web analytics available via MCP? Sorry, I don't know the answer to that just yet, because yes, it is. And I think this is very new. Right? Are people able to see my screen at this? Oh, I have to share a different screen. There you go. Is web analytics available via MCP? Yes, it is. I think this is very recently available. So definitely go check it out. If you have it set up on your Ahrefs dashboard, you can try to access it and create dashboards or apps of your own. Sana asked, I've experienced Ahrefs MCP pulling wrong data points into my workflow. Is there any suggestion to counter data hallucination? This is kind of an ongoing problem with AI in general. I think it used to be pretty bad and it's gotten better. I find it's not something that I can guarantee you that you'll not get hallucination in the future, but you may ask AI when creating like pulling the data to be able to put some guardrails. So basically say like, if there are certain data that you pull that is, let's say I want to do keyword research, like the first example that I shared. And I can ask AI and when they pull the answers, to detect keywords that do not seem to semantically match what I search for, and then basically identify those and ignore them. So that's something that you can build into the workflow. But there's sort of not really a reliable way necessarily to block hallucination, because that's sort of integrated, like inherent with AI specifically. I experienced it across every tool that I presented today. I've experienced it in Lovable and Claude Code. I've experienced it in Mistral. So I don't really have a good answer on that other than what I've proposed just now, which is to try and put some guardrails to like check to see if like certain things don't look right. And then in that process of pulling the Ahrefs MCP data, try to ignore those examples. Okay. Okay, so these are the questions in the Q&A. I'll just quickly look through here to make sure that I answer people's questions. Those that have hung around and still have any questions, now is the time to ask. You see that overall people are like using Claude for sure. Some people have asked, what is the difference between Ahrefs Claude Connector and Ahrefs MCP? It's so when you see in Claude that Ahrefs, like the Ahrefs connector, MCP connector is there, we've just officially put it on the platform. But a lot of third-party providers out there provide an MCP connector that's just not available as in the default like marketplace. You can add them via like add custom MCP, and functionally it's the same. It's just like presenting it in like one official way versus like a custom MCP URL. So it's just like it's whether or not you're officially in their marketplace or not. Are there any plans for adding it to starter? Currently, we don't have any plans to add Ahrefs MCP to starter. It would be available on like plan and higher. Someone asked to target, Julie asked to target non-English speaking country. Is it better to prompt in English? Prompting in English just helps you, I think, prompting in AI in English, which country is targeted. Or is it better in your prompt in mother tongue? So what I understand, based on what my colleagues tell me, is that English, if you prompt AI in a language other than English, it does not necessarily work too well, but it depends on the language. So any languages that you see AI support relatively well, I think they would similarly translate to how well they can understand your instructions and build things in AI. And if you're trying to do research and ask Ahrefs MCP to pull data, like for you to do that research, I think you can, for example, upload a CSV file with a bunch of all those like non-English terms, like especially if it's like non-romantic languages like Chinese or Japanese. You can put those words in there and then upload it to AI and then ask them to say, okay, do analysis of that. And that helps to sort of contain things. Yeah. Okay, so I think some of these questions we've answered before. And yeah, like whatever I've presented today, I will, there will be a follow-up email when this webinar ends to share with you guys like a way to download like everything that you saw today and try to run those skills for yourself to see if you can build them yourselves. But of course, definitely try to do what I did today to like build stuff in an iterative process, because that gives you an idea of like what exactly you should. The whole point of like AI and MCP server is to create something that you need. And what I'll be providing is just examples. Okay, Vinay Jain asked, can skills be used via Claude API? Yes, it should be possible. The same way that it should be possible in Claude Code. Yeah, Abhishek has been here helping to answer questions for people. Thank you for doing that. Um, that has been quite useful. But yeah, do we need to create NCPs of our own websites for better results? This seems to be a like a AEO question, I guess. Abhishek's answer here is that not necessarily. So I think Charlama Post, you've asked if we need to create MCPs of our own servers, with the idea that maybe MCPs of your servers will allow you to do connect like people to discover your website via AI rather than through search. It's a good question. I think a lot of SaaS providers are doing that as a way to getting discovered. But like platforms like, as you know, I think trip.com and all these big companies that offer a way for you to like buy flights via AI or something like that, they're working on things like this. So the future may be more tending towards this like MCP API environment where a company just works entirely without a website and through MCPs. But we're not really there yet. There's a lot of advantages of having a website. I think like as much as we all rely on AI to do certain things, if I want to know a brand or understand a brand, sometimes I still have to go to that website directly and learn about them, or check what they have, or maybe learn about customer use cases and things like that. So, and in the other hand, like there's advantages of having both like MCP and a website, if like depending on like what your business does. So, I guess it's just a matter of whether or not you can create something that's useful and unique. So yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can really answer this question confidently about whether or not. Oh, you mean for doing analysis of your website? Okay. As opposed to running the analysis through site audit and pulling that via Ahrefs MCP. That's something you can do. I think that there are. I'm not sure if it's better. I know people have tried to do something along those lines, and I know that, for example, certain Like Cloudflare is providing an API that you can just like with one API call, like download an entire website or something. So I think there are ways to go around things without necessarily building an MCP. So I think lots of people are trying to build ways of trying to analyze the website at scale. So I think you have a lot of options today, but I can't tell you like which one of these options are better, but I know people are building them. Yeah. RA Vida asked the question of like developer mode and GPT is disabling memories. When will MCP be available in regular mode? I did look into like showcasing ChatGPT today as an example, but as you've rightly pointed out, it needs like specific privileges that like I could not set up in time. I can't answer questions on behalf of ChatGPT. I think this is a matter of what OpenAI wants to do to be able to allow more NCP connectors to work the way people expect them to work, which is why like you see a lot of people in today's webinar are using Claude. So a lot of people have decided to use Claude instead, or I saw with Gemini and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I can't speak on behalf of OpenAI. Okay, so we are half an hour past the main hour for our webinar today. I think I've answered most questions. If you have other questions that you'd like to ask, there will be a follow-up email where you can ask, like email them to me. I can try to answer them best I can. Especially if you have any suggestions on how we can like improve Ahrefs MCP for you, or like certain like use cases that you said either you tried to build or you want to build, you want more guidance and stuff, I can definitely help you answer them over email. But for today, I will go ahead and close the webinar. When you close your Zoom, you'll be prompted to fill out a survey form. And that survey form is just our way of getting information about how you found today's webinar, whether you found it useful and things that we can do to improve. There were a bit of hiccups today, which I'm a bit sad about, but overall, I think I was able to help showcase different ways to use Ahrefs MCP and certain like tips on how to better use it and like showcase what all things are possible with AI and Ahrefs MCP. So I hope you found today useful. And we will go ahead and see you guys in the next webinar. Oh, quick shout out to next week's webinar, which I hope you will not miss, is this one with Patrick versus Ryan Law. So you saw today that I mentioned about Ryan Law's AI workflow that he's built entirely by chaining different like skills together. Next week, we will have a showdown where we will compare, where they will fight with different Ahrefs use cases against one another. And you guys, the audience, will get to vote on which ones you found useful, and the winner will be crowned. Okay, so the previous showdown happened last month with Glenn Elsop and Tim Solo, and people absolutely loved that webinar. So you do not want to miss it this time because we have limited seats in our webinar. And like once that runs out, basically you will not be able to, like we have max 500 to join. So if you don't make it in time, you don't make it in. Okay, and you only get you don't get a vote basically, or like, but you can see the replay. Okay, all right, guys. That's it for me today. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and have a good weekend. Okay.